Kumlen and Ablat Gemara. Today's daf is daf Ayin Beis. We're actually up to the Ayin Beis on the bottom, on the top of the page by the Mishnah. So we are discussing that a Naira Hamurasa, a girl who is under 12 and a half, and she's engaged. Both the father and the chassan, both are the ones who are null and neder. Once she's over 12 and a half, the father has no rights, and once she's married, the father has no rights. So what the Mishnah says is that derech tamid chachamim. It was a habit of Tamid Chachamim, that actually right before his daughter consummated her marriage to this chassan, she's already engaged. The father still has the right to annul her nedarim. He would say to his daughter, he would say to her, all the vows you made while you were with me, they are now null and void. This way, when she goes into the marriage, there's no prior nedarim, because remember we learned that once she's married, the husband no longer has any rights to annul past the nedarim. And we'll see in the Gemara, one opinion that explanation is that he's trying to tease out of her because she might not remember that she made a neder, and he didn't hear about it. She doesn't remember. So he wants it and if later on she remembers, the husband cannot annul it. So because it happened prior to the marriage. So he's trying to tease out of her by saying this comment. She starts thinking, oh, they make a neder, and then suddenly remember, oh yeah, remember last year I did this and that. And she can bring it out and open, the husband and the father can annul it. Likewise, the Baal does the same thing. The husband, actually, before they cancel the marriage, only says to her, call the don to all the don you make, actually, before you finally get married, they will be annulled. Because the din is, the moment she marries him and she's now his wife, he can no longer annul those nedarim. She can annul herself, but she has to find 3 people, and maybe it's difficult where they were. They lived somewhere they couldn't find 3 people, so it's easier for her husband could annul it for her.
We say in the first Nedarim, you're supposed to.
You have 3 people.
You have to specify. No?
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's why we say EF Shalafar, too many.
Same thing here.
Yeah, we're trying to tease out that she herself might not remember that she made a neder, and then later on she suddenly remembers. Says the Gemara, Boy Rami Bachama. We had a number of questions on Bachama asked throughout Shas. And there's another one of them. Baal, a husband. Does he actually have to hear the neder in order to annul the neder? Let's say he's scared that maybe she'll make a neder today. She's in a bad mood, and he knows that sometimes he says things that she might regret. So he says up front, any neder that you make should be null and void. And he had no idea what neder he's talking about because he didn't hear it yet, and maybe she didn't even make it yet. Is it valid or not? And the same question is the father. What's the 2 sides of the coin? It says in the pasuk, V'shama Isha, the husband heard on the day that he heard, and he was quiet. The neder is confirmed. The pasuk clearly says V'shama Isha, he heard. So do we say dafku? The Torah is telling you that's how it's the only way. Oh, you love dafku. Maybe it's not dafku. The Torah is telling you. I mean, generally, how do you know your wife made neder? Because you heard. But if you didn't hear, it's good enough. It makes absolutely no difference whether you heard or you didn't hear. Says the Gemara, Omar Rava, let's learn from Mishnah. Tashma, it says, Tera Tamid Chamim, there was comment for Tamid Chamim, actually, Yatzis Beit Tamid, before his daughter left him and got married, he says to her, Kol Nedarim Sheladarta B'Tet Beisi, all the vows that you made in our house, Harei Mufarim, they should be null and void. Now, he's saying all the nedarim. Obviously, he didn't know what the nedarim was. If he knew the nedarim, then he had 24 hours. He had the day to do it. If he didn't do it, he didn't do it. So obviously, he's talking about the nedarim he wasn't aware of, and he's saying show him null and void. Doesn't that prove they don't have to hear? Isn't that a good proof? He didn't hear. Says the Gemara. So we see that in order to annul a neder, you don't have to necessarily hear the vow of the wife. So an answer is no. Lichi shama. Who the Mayford he's saying to her is that not that my hafara today will help. I'm just trying to tease it out of you. When I'll hear it, I want you to know that I'm going to cancel it. So you want to ask the question. If he's saying that when I'll hear the neder, I'm going to cancel, so what's the point of saying this at all? Manushach, if he doesn't hear it, then there's no cancellation, whatever it is. And if he does hear it, he'll do it at a time. What's the point of saying it now at a time when there was no neder floating about? So what's the point of saying this whole thing in the first place? What for? Because the hafara you're saying right now is ineffective, because you're saying you have to hear the neder. You didn't hear the neder, so it's ineffective. So what's the point of even raising it? Al Kamashman, he's trying to tell you that Urcha de Rabbanon, that Urcha de Tzum Rabbanon is coming for Talmud Chacham Lahadure, that to braise us up, to talk about Nedarim, so to tease out of her that she herself might have forgotten that she made a neder, and then this way it'll come forward. Because then she'll say to him, yes, oh, I made this neder, and as soon as she'll say it, he'll cancel it on the spot, because now he heard it, and he has B'yayim Shama, he heard it, so therefore it's all good. Further,
It's just to tease it out of her. It doesn't have to be done in that lashon, like being made all the Nedarim.
oh, because she's realizing it's like final. This is it. So this will make it think harder. It seems from the Gemara, as there's a shiny point out, the Gemara later is that even later when he heard it, he didn't say again, I will cancel it. This cancellation, he said now, takes effect as soon as he hears it, in case he forgets later to cancel it. So that's a Samar Shem learned that it's more than just trying to tease out of it. But this what I'm saying right now will become effective the moment I tease it out of you, the moment you remember something, or the moment whatever. As soon as you tell me, it's moved from this hafara I made right now. So this is a floating hafara. So however, the language in Al Gemara doesn't seem so. The Al Gemara says l'chi shama, when he hears it. In other words, it sounds like Al Gemara here, not the way I just told you. Because we'll soon see in the Gemara asks the same question about the husband. The Gemara use a different expression altogether. We'll come to that in a second. So some is showing that the husband can't say what I just said, that it should be effective later. And I'll tell you a second what the Ran says about that. Tashma coming in a sefer later on says in Mishnah about the husband before he marries her. He tells her the same thing. And what's the point of saying it if it's ineffective? Didn't hear yet. He said l'chi shamana. Over here he says l'chi shamana, when it'll be heard. In other words, that's not the same word as the chishama. The chishama is when I'll hear. Chishaman is when it will be heard. In other words, by a husband, it sounds like it's saying that whenever you make the neder, the hafara I'm saying now should be effective. But when it comes to the father, it says l'chishama. When I hear it then, I'll cancel it then. So the Ran explains there's a difference between the husband and the father. Because the husband will still have a connection with his wife after they get married. So therefore, you can say that the hafara now kicks in. But by the father, the moment she marries the guy, he has no longer any connection. So how can the hafara today take effect after she got married? So therefore, he's saying basically, when I hear it, if I'm still a father, I'm still not married, fine. If not, not. Okay, says more further. Toshma coming here, English, a man says to his wife, Kol Nedarim Shetidairi, a man says to his wife, all the Nedarim that you will make in the future. I'm traveling overseas, I'm going to go away, but any neder you make in the future, Harehen Kayamin. I'm telling you right now, I am throwing in a kiyum, an effective kiyum. I'm confirming all your nedarim. The din is lamakum. He didn't say anything. Why? Because he didn't, as some of the Shaykhs explain, he didn't really mean it, because he doesn't even know what kind of ned it is, or an open statement or open check. What happens if it's a ned that is? Remember, he only can know nedarim that affect the relationship. How does he know what she said? That he's just going to give her an open check, and who knows what she said? Yeah. So we'll some of the Shaykhs expression we treat it as if it's kiyum bitos, as if the whole thing was an error. What happens? Not that he said they're confirmed, but rather he said that they're cancelled. So we hear he's not really putting them in a bad place. The worst comes the worst. She'll have to make the neder again. I mean, all he did was he canceled the neder. Rabbi Lezer says mufar. Rabbi Lezer says yes, it's mutar. Why? Because the truth of the matter is there's no real neder that's good. Why? As we're looking at it before. It's not a good habit to make the Nedarim. In fact, you call the Rush and so on. So it can't be wrong to be made for all the Nedarim, even though he has no idea what the Nedarim are. But what does he clearly from here? That even though he didn't hear about them yet, he could already make he can already make for the net that this should resolve Rabbi Chama's question, at least for Rabbi Lezer. So it says other Rishonim say they're rising from Chacham as well. But right now, the simple reading Gemara is from Rabbi Lezer. Says the Gemara. Well, over here also the Amr, he said Lechi Shemana. He said the hafara that I put in place now will take effect once I hear about them when I come back. So Gemara, mean hashta. So why even raise it now? Let him wait till he hears, and then we may. Maybe then he'll be busy. In other words, he will forget. He'll be distracted. So I'm making a hafara now that this is the hafara for those future ador. So by the husband, the hafara of now, even though he didn't hear the neder, will become effective whenever the neder comes up. When it comes to the father, l'chishama, when he hears it, he has to cancel. The hafara of now does not take effect later on. So Toshba coming here. Somebody says to the executive, the overseer of his estate, call the dadim shenayderes ishti, and I want you're taking care of all my wife's affairs and all of our affairs. So any neder that my wife makes while I'm gone, ba'acha ovim not complain until I return, hafek. I want you to annul those nedarim. V'hafla, and the yochel yimafar. I would have thought that it should be effective. He told the apatrufis, whatever it is, I want to be effective. No. Isha yikimenu the Isha yifarenu says in this case it's only the husband who has the right to either confirm or to annul the nadarim. You can't appoint a shliach on your behalf. What are you talking about? There's a general rule we're learning in Kedusha, we're learning from Truma, from other places, that the kol kula, that shluch shalom k'maisei. Why can't the husband appoint a shliach here? Why can't he appoint a shliach here? Even Rabbi Yeshua, even Rabbi Yeshua is saying the only reason why the husband cannot appoint the apatrufus to annul the darim is, or to confirm it, is only because there's a kasset. There's a pasuk isha yikimenu, but otherwise, in principle, of course, you can have a shliach. Isha yikimenu isha yiferenu. Ava the kuli alma, generally speaking, shluchish lani kamaisei. Now, there's a very simple question. The husband did not hear it, and if the husband did not hear it, Rabbi Yonatan says that Petrufus can go ahead and confirm it. How can you confirm it? If the husband didn't hear it, the husband had to hear it. And if the husband cannot cancel it, how can he make a shliach and do something that he himself can't do? So there's a question that all the Rishonim ask. Just like you can appoint a shliach to annul the nadarim, why can't you appoint a shliach to hear the nadarim? If the apatrufus is good enough to cancel the neder on your behalf, why can't the apatrufus hearing also be a shliach shalom as if the husband heard it, as if the husband. We're saying that that Petrufus can cancel it. The Torah clearly says the husband is the only one who can cancel it. It must be that the shliach is the proxy for the husband, right? He is the husband at this juncture, and he's canceling it. So the Torah says the husband has to hear it. The Petrufus heard it, so he is the husband at this juncture. What's the difference? What's the difference between these two? So it's explained in the Rishonim that when can you make a shliach? Only when it comes to an activity, to an act. But midi the davar b'meila, things which are natural, there's nothing you do about it. Just because this is me, you cannot appoint a shliach. The act of hearing, you don't do anything. So therefore, you can appoint a shliach to hear for you. The act of saying the words, I am being meifers, you have to do an activity, you have to say words. And for that, you can appoint a shliach. The Tosfos Harid uses that rule, as brought down in so many times, and it brings down a rule regarding tefillin. Can you have someone, put on tefillin for me and be my shliach? And the answer is no. Why not? He can come and put on tefillin on your hand, because there's two parts of tefillin. There's the actual putting it on, and it has to be on your hand. It has to be your hand. You can make a shliach for the act of rolling tying the tefillin and making the keshet, tying the knot. But the hand is something mele. You cannot appoint the guy and say your hand is my hand. And therefore, it doesn't work over there. Saying the lulav, saying all the mitzvahs that are medium and mela. Then the question is why the Ramah and Shulchan Aruch paskas regarding a opinion of ben you can't have a shliach, or a bris milah questionable argument if you can make a shliach. It's the act. Why can't you? Why that is that an exception? But anyway, that's how we explain. And the place that it is not on the Gemara here's a solution, but the Rishonim here explains the same thing, the same concept. Yeah. So the Gemara. So the Gemara says he's saying over the same thing, that he's saying when I will hear about it, I will be mefer. So then what's the point? What's the point of even bringing this up? When you'll hear about it, he'll be mefer then. And he's saying the way some of he's telling the Apatrufas, you cancel the neder. Now that cancellation won't work because nobody heard the neder. When I come home and I will hear the neder, then the cancellation that you made will retrospectively be effective because I heard it, and so why don't I do it myself? So I'm going to ask a question. So what do you have to tell Apatrufas? You go ahead and cancel whenever you hear it, and then I'll come and I hear it becomes effective. When you'll hear it, you'll cancel at the time. So he's worried that maybe he'll be distracted and he will not cancel the time when he hears the neder. That's what he's worried about. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow, Mr. Shem. Okay, have a good day.
Okay.
Do you remember your question? You want to ask?
Yeah, can I ask? Yeah. We're discussing in the previous pages about someone who gets engaged and then divorced and engaged and divorced. How does that type of divorce compare with, someone who's fully married, where the Rabbanim are going to try and slow it down? You can't get divorced in a day.
Okay, so 2 things. The reason why you cannot get divorced in a day, okay, first of all, there's a big machlekes in Paskin whether you need a bezdin at all when it comes to divorce. We'll see in the Gemara getting that vav a bezdin. The Gemara says you can even get the fnei from 2. The Nedarim Daf learns from there you don't need it in Shabbos, you don't even need a bezdin. The custom became today we have a bezdin. And there's no law that says that you have to. The only time we slow down and get this for koinim, because koinim, we're learning more about had a terrible temper, even though the conundrum is koinim are called ish chesed. They're generous and charitable people. On the other hand, they had a terrible temper. Like they say, all comedians, lahavdul, are sad people. So and therefore the kohen, and the problem with the kohen is that if he divorces his wife, he can never take her back again. After he calms down, his anger simmers. So therefore, we made a rule there. You will see it's called a get makusher, a special kind of a get that's quite involved. In physical, you have to knot it together. This way, you'll slow down. There's no other rule that says you slow down getting. So it's in theory, it's possible for this to happen. Did it ever happen? I'm sure not. I mean, forget about the woman that she decides every 5 seconds. She's very fickle and marries somebody else. Which man is going to be embarrassed? By the time we got to person number 40, you would think they would say, "Hey, you married 39 people today. What am I marrying for? How long is this marriage going to last?"
No, sure. Yeah.
So it's a more theoretical thing. It's rather that we're most trying to accentuate a certain point.
But it is feasible. Yeah.
And the main point that we're trying to say is, so who is the one who can annul the Nedarim? The husband the chassan that heard it, or the last chassan of the day before nightfall? And that's the point that we're trying to accentuate by saying 100 people. So it's sort of exaggeration or embellishment. It's more like
sure.
That's that. But clearly, you see, you don't need really bezin because there's no way in the world the bezin has nothing else to do but give the guy, give the woman that 100 get in one day. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.